Dr. Deb Explains Research Process Discussion. Hi, I'm Dr. Deb. I'm the professor and department chair for the Learning Strategies Department at Victoria College. Today's video is designed to introduce you to the discussion portion of the research process. So far, as a researcher, you created a process to answer a research question that you have. You have chosen your participants, and you have determined what you need those participants to do in order to answer the research question you have. In Peruganin and Hewitt's research process model, that step was the M in the IMRD structure, the methods. Then you administered the research by interviewing your participants or distributing the survey or questionnaire. You have then compiled the responses as part of the results portion of the research process. Now it's time to learn about the final step in the IMRD structure, the discussion. The discussion does what it sounds like. It discusses what was found in the research. If it was done correctly, it hopefully provides a clear answer to the research question, and it explains how the results support that conclusion. It's important to point out here that the discussion is not just a summary or a restatement of the results. The discussion section goes beyond that. It has to tell what the results mean. What did you, the researcher, learn about this project based on the results that you received? What answers did you get to your research question? What is your final result? Let's look at Walters and Hussein's article, Investigating Grit and its Relations with College Students' Self-Regulated Learning and Academic Achievement, as an example. They had 4 related research questions in the research questions section. They include: 1. Is grit related to college students' value and self-efficacy? 2. Is grit related to more strategic aspects of students' SRL, including their use of different regulatory strategies and level of academic procrastination? 3. Is grit related to college students' academic achievement? 4. Do the motivational and strategic aspects of SRL mediate the relation between grit and students' academic performance? So, to find the answers to these research questions, Walters and Hussein developed a study, and they explained who they used as participants and what they asked those participants to do. This is included in their methods section. They included 213 participants from a large and diverse public university. They then included demographic data for these participants. In their procedures section, they explain that the participants completed a survey during the final 2 weeks of the fall semester before final exams. Then they explained the survey. For the results, Walters and Hussein include statistical charts with the data from the survey, and they explain the results in statistical terms. Now comes the interesting part. In the discussion section, Walters and Hussein include a short paragraph explaining what those results mean in terms of their research and their research questions. Then they break each component into sections and discuss their implications, what it means, even further. If you look at the language they use, they aren't merely restating their results. They are explaining what those results mean in terms of their research questions. Then, to wrap up their research paper, Walters and Hussein discuss the limitations and conclusions they have drawn or discovered based on this project. This is how they chose to end their paper. They essentially tell how their research was limited and then restate their major discoveries or findings. Finally, they conclude their research with the references list or the works from other researchers that they included in their paper. So what does this mean for your research project? At this point, you should have identified your research project, found your participants and determined what you wanted them to do, and they should have completed this process. You should have also organized your responses so you can view them in a logical and organized way in order to determine what you have discovered in their responses. That's what this next step is all about. Look at the responses you received from your participants and try to explain what it all means. What did you learn from your participants about what students need to do to become successful academic performers in college? What can you and other first-year students learn from this information about how to be successful in college? These are all the types of items that you want to include in your discussion section. But there's also things that you want to avoid as well. Don't restate what your participants said. You did that in the results section. Here, focus on pulling in the key or most important information. What stood out to you as the most successful items to do or use? What items were repeated by more than one participant? What other connections do you see? These are the types of items you want to include in your discussion section. As a brief review, the discussion section is the final step in the IMRD model. This section provides a clear answer to the research question and explains how the results from the study supports this conclusion. Until next time, this has been Dr. Deb Explains, the Research Process Discussion.